So I'm there looking through my notifications on my phone, and something popped up on my YouTube notifications, and it was someone who'd watched the Amazon Fire HD10 video that I'd done, or one of the many, and my boy Moses Arans, I think that's how you pronounce your name, might be wrong, sorry, he said do an emulation test on this tablet please, so here we are, we're going to have a look. If you've been watching my channel, you will know and realise I am a massive fan and advocate of the Amazon Fire tablets. In particular, the Fire HD10, which is a superb device. Really cheap as well. If you've watched any of my videos on this tablet, you'll realise there's not much that it can't do. So, one thing that we've not looked at though is emulation. Thanks to the suggestion from one of my viewers, we're going to take a look. So there's not much point in me testing things like a Commodore 64 emulator, Game Boy Advance, really low-level basic hardware, because it'll run pretty much everything. It starts to get a bit spicy when we get to things like the N64, the PSP, the PS2. It will manage PS1 absolutely fine. So what I'm gonna check out today is some PSP emulation and some N64 emulation. I did try and get Recast to work, but I just couldn't. So if anyone wants to help me out with that, then please do give me a shout, but I just could not get it to work at all. I did also make efforts to try and get PS2 emulation to work on here. Sadly, PS2 emulation on Android is not very good, and it's not going to be for a long time. So maybe in a few months we might be in a position where we can start running a few PS2 games on here, but for the time being PS2 is a no-go. A lot of the good PS2 games are ported to the PSP anyway, so the chances are you're going to get the majority of the games that you want to play. It would be quite nice though to play things like Shadow of the Colossus on this tablet, but it ain't happening at the moment. So really quickly I'm going to show you some gameplay with some benchmarks on there for frames per second. Once we've done that, I will give you my conclusions and whether or not I believe that this is a good device for emulation. I'll see you in a couple of minutes. So first up, we're going to take a quick look at GoldenEye on the N64. So just keep your eye on the frame rate counter in the top right hand corner. See how it fluctuates as I play through some of the very first stage. So we dip in below 30 quite a lot of the time. With Mupen 64, it is possible to mess about with settings in order to get it to run a bit more smooth. So you can reduce the resolution, that kind of thing. I'm not going to go through that on this video, but it is a viable option if you want to get the emulator to run a little bit better, or indeed this game. This game is particularly difficult to emulate. Not really sure why, but it is. So it is playable, hovering around the 30 FPS mark. It does get a bit busier on the screen and the FPS does drop. I've just gone down to 13 there. Okay, so we'll take a look at something else. Just going to take a look at the PSP emulation. So this is Burnout Legends, which is a cracking game. Frames per second counter up in the top right hand corner again. It is dipping down to 15 when there's a lot going on. That doesn't mean it's not playable. Again, there's settings we can change to try and speed up the emulation at the cost of some graphical niceties. And let's take a look at another PSP game. Okay, so we've got GTA Vice City Stories here. And again, FPS counter up in the top right hand corner. Seem to be running at a steady 30 at the moment. Let's see what happens when we move around the map a little bit. So when we crash it seems alright. Just like to point out this game is very playable, it's just me who's not very good at it. I definitely recommend getting a Bluetooth controller. I'll put links in the description for the one that I would opt to use if I were not using these terrible on-screen controls. So a bit more going on now in the city, and as you can see the FPS does drop again, but it is definitely playable. I would mess around with the settings, but this is just a quick demo, see what this machine is capable of in terms of emulation. So there we have it, the extremely versatile, high resolution Fire HD 10 strikes again. Not perfect, admittedly, but there's no point in me testing Super NES games on it because obviously it's going to run them. If you've not got one of these, definitely get hold of one. I've put a link in the description below to make a purchase. Thank you for watching Tomo's Tech, and I will see you in the next video, and I will read your comments if you leave them below.